Hey, this is Software is Craft, and I'm Paige Watson. Today I'm going to write FizzBuzz. I'm going to use Java, TDD. It's not going to be any frills at all. It's just going to be basic FizzBuzz. I want to set a baseline so we can talk about things like writing good tests, object-oriented design, TDD, all that sort of stuff. So let's talk about what we're going to write today. And today we're going to, there we go. We're going to look at our requirements, and those requirements that are given a number 1 to 100. If the number is divisible by 3, return the word fizz. If the number is divisible by 5, we're going to return the word buzz. If the number is divisible by 3 and 5, we're going to return the word FizzBuzz. And if none of the above matches, then we're going to return the number in string format. So if we pass a 1, we'll get back a 1 in a string. So when I approach this, I usually sort of start with the last requirement. And this is because that's the one that covers the most. And I think it's also kind of the simplest. We could start anywhere, but let's start with returning the number in string format. I think that's easier. I have where to go? There we go. I have a project set up, a Java project set up here in IntelliJ. I have a failing test so that I know that my testing framework works correctly. Let's write a test. So the first test that I'm going to write is that if should return string, I got to spell right, string 1. When passed int 1. How about that? All right. So let's look at the project for a second. You'll notice I only have the FizzBuzz tests. I don't have any other classes and stuff because I'm using my TDD to create my classes as well. So I'm going to make a new FizzBuzz class. And I could pass in the integer here into the constructor, or I could write a method that would take that integer and save it into the object. I actually kind of like doing this where I can pass it into the constructor. Got to get my keyboard working. So let's create an object there. We have some red. So before we go on, let's create a class. All right, we got that. Let's move that to the right. And let me know if this is too small of text. I will make it a little bigger. You can put something in the comments. You can message me on Facebook, LinkedIn, send me an email, whatever. We don't have a function here. We don't have a creator, a constructor, so let's create that. Great, okay. Now, we want to call something in FizzBuzz. Do FizzBuzz, do whatever. How about applesauce? I like that because we don't know exactly what it is that we're going to be doing. Let's create that. We do know that it's going to return a string. And so we'll rename this. We know I'm going to just call this returned value. I'm not sure I really like that either, but okay, that's something. I'd like that better than value or output, but maybe, I don't know. The nice thing is that we can have that discussion about it. Return value is equal to 1. There we go. You'll also notice that I'm using the assert_j library to make my assertions more fluent. And I think that's a really positive way of writing our tests. It just makes it easier to scan and read. Okay, let's see, this test is failing. We don't actually need that test anymore. So hooray, we get to delete some code. And let's run our tests again. All right, and you'll notice that our tests are failing for the reason we expect. We're expecting to get a string 1 back. We're actually getting null. That's good. You always want to check that your tests that fail do so for the reason you expect them to fail. If you just assume that a test is going to fail because you just wrote a new one, it fails, you don't really look at why. It could be that somehow you've introduced a defect into your code. So always make sure you know why it's failing. And we're going to make this pass. What's the simplest, very simplest, easiest way to make this pass without even thinking is just to return 1. I know it bothers some people when I do that, but we're going to go TDD by the book. We're going to make sure that we work our way up, and we're going to use tests to triangulate how our code should evolve. So we can commit that, and this is if you apply this commit, it will. I like to add to say that at the beginning and then write my commit message from there. If you apply this commit, it will return return 1 as a string. How about that? So I like this better than saying what I did. I added a function, I added a test, I did this. So much harder to read. If you apply this commit, it will do this. Yep, and we're going to commit that. Okay, so we have a passing test. Let's see, do we have some refactoring? I think so. I don't like applesauce at all now. Not what, it's actually what, is it converting the value? Is it, can we just give it a command? Convert, how about that? Sure, okay, that's something. We'll go with that. All right, so let's write another test here. And when I make a cut and paste with my tests, I want to always make sure I start at the bottom with my assertions and change my assertions and change my values before I change my function name, so that I actually do get a failing test when I'm doing TDD. So I'm going to pass 2 because I'm asking myself, is there a number that I can pass into this function or into FizzBuzz that will not return itself as a string? And yes, the number is 2, obviously. I'm expecting 2, but I got 1 back. So, okay, let's make that pass. So I think what we need to do is we need to create a field there. And then simplest way, what's the simplest way to make this pass? If you said ugly if I equals 2, return 2, you would be right. Will this be where we end up in the end? No, only because I've done this hundreds of times. I know that this won't be the end that we get to. But if I was working on a problem for the first time, maybe it would. Maybe that's the answer, right? I don't know that, and so I'm going to let my tests get me to a point where I either am done with all the requirements or I see a pattern I can refactor to. Right? Do I see a pattern here? Maybe, maybe not. Let's keep going. Let's do one more just to kind of bring that pattern out a little bit more. Why don't we try a huge number? I could try 3 or 4 or 5. I want to try 97. 97. How about that? Oh, look at that. I'm failing what I said to do anyways. And oh gosh. Let's commit this now that we have passing tests. All right. Now let's go about this, and we'll change this at the bottom to 97, and we'll pass in 97, and now we should return string 97 when passed int 97. Let's see what that does for us. Run all my tests. Just need to keep that open. Okay, hooray, not working as we expect. So let's do the very simplest thing possible. If I is equal to 97, then we return 97. All right. Does this pass? Hey, all right. So let's go on now and let's commit that because we have a passing test. Return 97 as a string. All right. Now I can look at this and say, is there a pattern emerging here? It seems that when all we're doing is returning I as a string. So what's that pattern? Well, it should be fairly simple. Let's return I. Again, simple as possible, not effective, not going to really get us there, not what we want to put into production, but does it work for now? Yes. There's a saying of make it work, make it pretty, make it fast. So we're just making it work now. We could come back and make this pretty using, string format or int to string or something like that. I'm not going to worry about it right now. So let's make that commit and refactor. All right, good. So now, golly, what's the next thing we do? How about some more refactoring, because that's fun. I don't like I. I is a terrible name. I doesn't tell us anything about this. I doesn't tell us what we're doing. We're passing in to FizzBuzz. What is it that we're passing into FizzBuzz? How about maybe it's, I kind of like number to convert. Yeah, that's okay. Sure, that's okay. Does that keep all my tests passing? Yes, it does. Okay. Good. All right. Now, my question to you is there a number that we could pass into FizzBuzz that would not return itself as a string between 1 and 100? That's our requirements. All right, let's go look at that. Is there a number between 1 and 100 that we could pass into FizzBuzz that would not return itself as a string? I think the answer is no. There is not a number that we could do that. Sure, there are other requirements, but we haven't started implementing those yet. So let's go do that, since I believe we're finished actually with the fourth one. All right, so I can kind of come down here. I'm gonna change this now. Our next requirement, let's go back. What was that? That was the next requirement I think we're gonna work on is probably 3. 3 is divisible, or sorry, if the number is divisible by 3, let's return fizz. It doesn't matter which one of these we start with. Excuse me. So let's start with that one. All right, so I'm going to change my expected first. A number that's divisible by 3. Well, 3 is divisible by 3. That's fairly easy. So here should return fizz when passed int 3. Sure. Sounds good. Let's run our tests. Hooray! Failing test. Let's make it work. What is the simplest and easiest way to do this? Why, yes, you're right. If the number to convert is equal to 3, return fizz. And hey, we're passing. Okay, so let's commit that. Return fizz for the number 3. That's what will happen if you apply this commit. All right. Is there a refactoring we can do? Maybe. I think there is refactoring. Look at this. This happens all over in the code, right? It's in every one of these. Do I want to tackle that right now? Probably not the focus of what I want to do. So we're not gonna worry about refactoring our tests, although I think that's important. You should be refactoring your tests just as much as you're refactoring your code, your regular production code. But for now, I don't see any refactorings that I want to do. So let's add another test. What's the next number, or what's a number that should return fizz that's divisible by 3 that if we pass it in does not return fizz? Well, a simple one is 6. 6. How about that? Sure. Hey, 6 is a good number. All right. Let's run our tests. All right, 6 does not return fizz. What's the simplest and easiest way to make this test pass? Why, it would be just to say if number to convert is equal to 6, now we'll return fizz. Does that pass? Yes, it does. Let's make a commit. I'm going to push this a little bit more because the question that I ask now is, do I see a pattern emerging that I can refactor to? Yes. Yes. In fact, actually, you know what? We know what the pattern is because we know it's supposed to be divisible by 3. We know that we're checking each number that's divisible by 3. So I'm going to go ahead and refactor to that. And I'm going to just say, if number to convert modulus 3 has a remainder of 0, return fizz. And let's run our test to make sure that actually didn't break our previous tests. Yes, okay. Let's commit that. Excellent. Now, is there a number that's divisible by 3 between 1 and 100 that will not return fizz when we pass it into this? No. I think we're done with that requirement. Let's move on to 5, where we should be returning buzz if the number is divisible by 5. All right, I'm going to step through this. I'm going to start going a little bit quicker now, because I think you see what the path is going to be. And I'm going to call this buzz, and I'm going to run my tests. All right, my test fails for the reason I expect, and I'm going to say return buzz. Yay, passes. All right, make a commit. And I know what the answer is going to be. I know where I want to skip to, but I'm going to continue to do good TDD. I'm not going to skip ahead. So, although I know that the modulus is where we want to be, I'm just going to go to 10. And I'm going to use my triangulation to actually guide my code. All right. I have seen this as well, and I'm just fine with that. Again, for simple as possible. Maybe it's a little harder to read, right? So separate lines doesn't matter to me. In this case, I know we're going to refactor this. If I had a third one, I probably wouldn't do it the if or type of code. I would just put them separately. So sure, now we have a pattern. Let's fix that pattern. Let's refactor to that pattern that we see. All right. And now let's move on, because I don't believe that there's a number that is divisible by 5 that we could pass into here that would not return the word buzz. So let's move on to our final requirement out of these 4, and that's if the number is divisible by 3 and 5. With this, I'll show you, actually there's a really, I don't know, it's one that it's a sort of a way of writing the test that we've discussed before, so that it becomes more apparent. I gotta actually use my keyboard. But if I'm looking for 3 and 5, I could put 15 there, but I could put I could put 3 times 5 as well, or 3. Maybe in this case I put in 15. This makes it pretty clear that it's a 3 and a 5. It's something you should discuss with your team about what kind of pattern you want to follow when writing your tests. Nonetheless, let's run our tests, and then we get a failure because it's buzz, which we expected. So let's fix that. There we go. Run our tests and we'll see. That should pass. Hooray. I know I'm all over the map on the commits. That's okay. All right. Now, when I was talking about this, this 3 times 5, I could also do something like 4 times 3 times 5, which in this case would be 60. But that should return FizzBuzz also. And we'll come over here and we'll go like that, and oh, what did I do? I got into something here. we go. Ah, I know what the issue is. I think I know what the issue is. There, yes. There we go. Keyboard, hooray for keyboard. Okay, let's run our tests and let's see if this fixes it, which it should. Good, and make our commit. And do we see a pattern? Yes, so we see the pattern here. Let's just refactor that so that we bring out that pattern, we start using that pattern, and hey, our tests pass. Is there any other refactorings that I see? Probably not. I mean, again, we talked about there's duplication, lots of it in our test. There's some duplication here. We're calling this whole thing, maybe we could refactor that into a function that just takes the modulus number and the return value. Yeah. We could refactor the words fizz and buzz show up several times. But I think I'm okay with where we're at, right? This was supposed to be simple, no frills, and I think we did that. And let's go back and look here. I believe that we have covered all of our requirements, and there's not a number between 1 and 100 that wouldn't return as we expect it to. So we're done. And if you want to put some comments underneath this video, please do, or you can connect with me at my email address, on LinkedIn, or my website. All right, great job.